Good evening. It's Friday, March 27. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The coronavirus has claimed more lives here in San Diego County, and we're awaiting the latest update on the number of cases, but have been told 3 more county residents have died from the virus. That's one of the major developments we're following tonight. President Trump has signed a $2.2 trillion rescue package to help millions of struggling families and businesses. And Mayor Kevin Faulconer just announced more first responders have been diagnosed with the virus. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar joins us live from the newsroom with the latest. Priya.
That's right, Maya. Unfortunately, more tragic news coming from county public health officials today. 3 more deaths, as you mentioned, which brings our death toll to 6. Today, we've learned a man in his mid-50s and a man in his early 80s have passed away due to COVID-19 related complications. They also said that a 25-year-old San Diego County resident with no underlying health conditions died in Riverside County. Right now, the county is reporting 341 positive cases. We're on day 19 here in San Diego County from when we saw the first positive case, and day 8 of the governor's executive order to stay at home. County officials say that while the numbers here are increasing, they're not seeing the exponential surge that many other communities across the country are reporting. And moments ago, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer also confirmed that 1 San Diego police officer and 3 lifeguards have tested positive, bringing the total number of public safety professionals here who have tested positive to 6.
Scott, our update from our county that in the last 24 hours, we doubled the amount of COVID-19 deaths, related deaths, from 3 to 6. And in that report was unfortunately a 25-year-old that had no underlying health conditions. It's incredibly important that we continue to step up during this time of need, work with our neighbors, work with our friends to reinforce this important message of keeping your distance.
Now, the mayor has also spoken about the economic impact of the coronavirus in our city. He says the Small Business Relief Fund will open today. $6 million in financial relief will be available to businesses facing hardship. Reporting live from the newsroom, Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
And by an overwhelming vote, Congress passed historic legislation to rush aid to struggling families and save businesses on the brink of collapse. President Trump signed the $2.2 trillion relief package this afternoon.
But I want to thank Republicans and Democrats for coming together, setting aside their differences and putting America first.
Under the plan, most Americans will get payments of $1,200. Unemployment benefits have been increased for the millions left out of work. Small businesses and corporations alike will get loans, grants, and tax breaks. The bill also sends billions to states and local governments to fight the coronavirus. The Navy now has the most cases of coronavirus among the services. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says the service is still trying to figure out why.
This week, Acting Secretary of the Navy Thomas Modley says the Navy now has 104 cases of COVID-19, not counting families and contractors. Together, the Navy and the Marines now have 1/3 of all active duty cases in the U.S. military.
I will say that our forces are all over the world all the time. That may have something to do with it. We also have big fleet concentration areas such as San Diego and Norfolk and other areas where we have a lot of people that are together. But that's all speculation. We have not done the forensics yet.
The USS Roosevelt has at least 23 confirmed cases of the virus. The San Diego-based carrier is in Guam while the Navy tests all 5,000 sailors after a port visit in Vietnam. There have been several other cases of sailors assigned to San Diego-based ships testing positive. They were all on shore in San Diego when they were diagnosed. More test kits are being sent to other ships in the fleet. With the spike in cases, both the Navy and Marines are becoming more aggressive in canceling training events. New recruits are being screened on arrival at Marine Corps Recruiting Depot in San Diego. 2 East Coast recruits have already tested positive. An exercise scheduled in April at 29 Palms has been canceled. The entire U.S. military is now at Health Protection Charlie, 1 level below the highest level, which includes even stricter restrictions on travel. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
The USNS Mercy is now docked at the Port of Los Angeles, preparing to receive thousands of patients in the coming weeks. The hospital ship left Naval Station San Diego on Monday. Governor Gavin Newsom toured the ship today, calling it a remarkable asset that will free up hospital space for people affected by the pandemic. The coronavirus made its grim arrival at San Diego County senior care facilities this week. KPBS reporter Amita Sharma says 3 assisted living communities have confirmed cases and 3 others are awaiting results.
KPBS has identified 2 of 3 facilities with cases. 4 people who work at La Vida Real's assisted living community in Rancho San Diego have tested positive for COVID-19. Another worker is awaiting results, according to a statement from the company. Also, 4 elderly people who live in La Vida Real's memory care section are being tested after showing symptoms. Meanwhile, at San Diego Stellar Care, 1 person has tested positive and several others have undergone testing. 2 weeks ago, senior care facilities countywide started banning all but essential staff. Workers' temperatures are taken when they enter their facilities, but someone with the virus can be asymptomatic for 2 weeks. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
Since schools closed to slow the spread of the coronavirus, reports of child abuse in San Diego County are down by 60%. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong spoke to experts about why these numbers are troubling.
San Diego County's Health and Human Services says there were far less reports made to the child abuse hotline during the first week of school closures. On the week before schools closed, there were more than 1,700 reports made through the child abuse hotline. During the first full week of school closures, the number dropped to 728. The sudden drop in the number of reports of suspected child abuse doesn't mean the abuse isn't happening. Experts say it's likely because children aren't having regular contact with teachers and school counselors who are required by law to report any suspicions they have of abuse. In fact, nationwide, school personnel make up the largest proportion of mandatory reporters. Alfredo Guardado is the Assistant Director of Child Welfare Services for San Diego County.
We have, law enforcement, and we have other providers and other folks who are mandated reporters, but just by the nature of school personnel spending a good time with, our youth, they do tend to be our eyes and ears quite a bit.
This is something that's been happening across the country. States like Illinois and Missouri have seen similar trends. I spoke with Robert Geffner, the president of the Institute on Violence, Abuse, and Trauma in San Diego. He said that not just the quarantine, but the increased stress could lead to both child abuse and domestic abuse.
People laid off, they're around their kids more. So if there's tendencies toward abuse, we're more concerned that it's being increased rather than decreased, but not being reported.
The Child Abuse Hotline is still up and running while schools are closed, and Guardado said the Child Welfare Services Office is still conducting investigations while maintaining social distance. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
San Diego's International Airport is open, but as KPBS's Eric Anderson reports, passenger traffic is down significantly during the global pandemic.
Will Lashley got off the longest flight of his life. It was a cross-country trip from Maryland.
It was 6 passengers on my flight, 6 passengers. It was delayed a little bit, but it was 6 passengers. Everyone had plenty of space, and it was cool.
Natalie Tull was flying into San Diego to pick up her granddaughter.
I was able to sprawl out across all 3 seats. Everybody kind of scattered amongst the plane. Wasn't any, beverage or snack service or anything like that, but it was smooth sailing, no problems.
Tull says COVID-19 was on her mind, however. Here in San Diego, the parking lots are empty, there's not much traffic, and most of the people inside the airport work here. The Airport Authority's Scott Brickner says Transportation Security Administration counts show sharp passenger declines.
At the beginning of the month, it started out, I think we were even 2% up year over year, and then it started to decline slowly and then just very rapidly for the rest of the month. And even the last week, we're down about 80 to 90%.
Brickner says the economic impact will likely be much deeper and longer than the shutdown linked to the September 11th terror attacks.
When we see things like this, we can put measures in place that protect us financially. So hiring freeze, reducing expenses to only the most critical things, delaying some of the capital projects.
When things begin to return to normal outside of the San Diego airport, officials are hoping the same happens inside, that there will be passengers moving through this terminal. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
San Diego County officials say they have enough face masks for the region's healthcare workers despite the national shortage. But KPBS reporter Taryn Mento says they've still purchased 90,000 bandanas just in case supplies dwindle.
The bandanas from local company Planet Apparel are meant to be worn over respirators or face masks. Co-owner Heather Trevino demonstrates the technique in a recent video call over Zoom.
And therefore it kind of makes another layer protecting the face mask.
The CDC has suggested healthcare workers use bandanas if there's a face mask shortage as a last resort. Trevino says using bandanas on top of face masks could make the protective gear last longer.
Not to replace a face mask, but to use in coordination with face mask is really what's going to help. We feel going to prolong the lifespan of face masks right now.
Some healthcare workers have complained hospitals are limiting access to the most protective face masks during the national shortage. And health clinics say they're struggling to get enough of them. But the county's Medical Operations Center head, Rob Sills, says the region has an adequate supply, and the bandanas are a backup plan.
We're doing good right now, but looking out 2 months from now, we're making those plans in case it does happen.
Planet Apparel co-owner and Trevino's sister, Holly, says San Diego County purchased the coverings last week for $97,000 and received them on Tuesday.
The County of San Diego is thinking outside the box. They're making moves because, as we know, supplies are they're going away so quickly. So they were just like, lock it down, get it to us, and then we'll store it. And then we'll figure out kind of distribution.
She says their polyester bandanas are less porous than the common cotton covering. They're now offering them to other cities, including Dallas, Seattle, and San Francisco. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
And this report was a joint collaboration of KPBS and iNewsSource. iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. Local dentists are stepping up to help healthcare workers on the front lines of the coronavirus outbreak. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the helping hand comes as dentists themselves are laying off workers and trying to survive.
If our health workers become infected, then we don't have any health workers to help us.
So local dentists are rallying.
They just need a regular mask, and so we have those in dentistry.
They're collecting desperately needed masks, gloves, and other protective wear.
You want to make sure that you have a new clean mask for every patient. Same with gloves. You don't want to feel limited on gloves. That is the scariest thing in the world.
The donations are being gathered at the San Diego County Dental Society on Morena Boulevard. And as you can tell, San Diego dentists have answered the call.
We are sending them out to UCSD, Scripps, Sharp, 2-on-1, and actually firefighters and police officers are people that don't have any of them, and they really need them.
Dentists are considered essential during the coronavirus outbreak, but they're being asked only to help patients that need emergency services.
Our mission is, it's still the same long-term for you. It's just we have to slightly tweak the way we're delivering care. Effectively, what that means for us right now is eliminating routine and non-emergent care. So certainly if something hurts, if there's an infection, something breaks, things like that, absolutely, of course, that's what we're here for.
That means you won't see this bright light because 6-month checkups are on hold. Even though you might not visit your dentist, you still need to take care of your teeth.
In a good year, you're going to see me 2 hours out of 365 days, right? So 99.99% of what we can do is done in the home.
That means keeping up with brushing twice a day and flossing too.
Yeah, so we're closed right now.
Because they're only taking emergency patients right now, many dental offices are not open.
It's tough to run a business when you're closed.
Thomas Bierman of Park West Dental has had to get creative in order to check in on patients.
Sort of consults over the phone, things like that. That's one thing. We did a consult via text and picture messages.
But Bierman is only billing for emergency visits right now and has had to lay off workers.
Have people go on unemployment and things of that nature it's a hard decision to make, but sometimes it's just what you have to do to kind of weather the storm, and hopefully this doesn't last very long. We want to have a business for them to come back to.
It's hard to social distance for dental work, but dentists say they're taking extra precautions right now to ensure everyone's safety. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
We're following all of the latest coronavirus developments for you at kpbs.org. Click on the Tracking COVID-19 link on our homepage, and you'll be taken to a page with all of our recent reports. You can find that right now at kpbs.org. Our mountains just got a fresh dusting of snow. This is a look from the Laguna Mountain Lodge webcam earlier today. If you're thinking about going up to the mountains, remember the same social distancing rules do apply, and many trailheads and recreation areas are closed. After a stormy few days across our county, it should dry out this weekend. Lauren Rainson has our forecast.
Good evening and TGIF to you. Our weather headlines heading into the evening featuring the clearing out cooling conditions. Rain chances will make a comeback by late weekend. We will return to ample sunshine early next week, along with that rising trend in temperatures. And the reason this temperatures continue to drop now is that troughing digging its way southward. Upper level lows off to the east, just on about completely out of our hair. So that's why we've also cleared out again. It's drier, but again, it is on the cooler side. So if you are going to be out and about the rest of the evening and tonight, you want that lighter jacket. There's going to be a little bite to the air. We'll see a few passing clouds here and there, but we are done with those spotty showers. Out there early Saturday, again, staying dry, but with those morning clouds breaking free to a little bit more of that afternoon sunshine. As we're heading into tonight, just a few passing clouds. 36 in Ramona, 43 in Escondido, Oceanside, temperatures in the middle 40s. Ridging of high pressures off to the east into Saturday. But here we go again with that next system. It's working its way southward. Eventually, we will return to that surge of Pacific moisture by Sunday. And ahead of that, still clouds will start to increase, especially those higher clouds. Overall, ample sunshine. Cool, widespread highs in the 60s, some spots just shy of 70. Eventually, that'll be settling its way southward right here at home into Sunday. The snow levels around 5 to 5,500 feet, 5,000 to 5,500 feet. We're going to trend drier, though, by late Sunday into Monday. Your extended forecast along the coast, overall pretty quiet, middle 60s these next couple of days. Warmer, though, beginning next Tuesday to Wednesday with highs in the lower 70s. Further inland, mixing with sun and clouds these next couple of days, lower to the middle 60s. Temperatures taking a nice little boost beginning early next week in the 70s. Into the mountains, we will see some snow showers, temperatures in the 40s by Sunday. Drying and clearing out again by Monday with those cool highs in the 50s. Into the desert, partly sunny these next couple of days, highs in the 70s, flirting with 80 beginning Monday. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Lauren Rainson. Back to you.
Medical students are finding their education put on hold amid the coronavirus pandemic. UCSD School of Medicine has stopped in-person classes and clinical rotations where students interact with patients. With more time on their hands, students are finding new ways to support the healthcare system in a time of crisis.
So we start with 2 cotton rectangles.
Millie Desai is helping her mother, Shobna, sew cotton surgical masks. They're not suitable for doctors or nurses, but they can be useful for sick or elderly people if they have to go to the doctor or grocery store.
So I'm just going to put it on, and it fits pretty snug. And the good thing is that there's pipe cleaner on top, which will fit to each person's nasal bridge.
Desai is entering her 4th year of medical school at UCSD. The coronavirus outbreak forced the university to stop the rotations that make up most of a student's 3rd and 4th years of medical school. Desai says it was the right call.
We may carry the disease and spread that both to our clinical teams, to our families when we return home, and also to other patients. So there was a lot of concern about, are we needed in the clinical space and what's the best way for us to contribute?
Thank you. Taking any donations of masks, gloves?
Med students without sewing machines are finding ways to pitch in too. 3rd-year medical student Armando Gallegos Jr. helped start a donation drive collecting personal protective equipment for healthcare workers, surgical and N95 masks, gowns.
Unopened goggles as well, disposable goggles. And gloves. They don't have to be sterile. They can be nitrile gloves to just help healthcare workers do their job.
As word spread, they managed to collect hundreds of pieces of equipment this week.
For me, I definitely wanted to do something as a student physician and try to help to combat the pandemic in any way possible. And I thought this was definitely one of the ways we could help our physicians in San Diego.
So what are we doing to have fun during COVID-19 quarantine?
We're just doing some fun stuff inside.
Caitlin Breen is about to start her residency at Rady Children's Hospital. She's been doing childcare for a physician she used to work with, going on bike rides, making obstacle courses. The 9-year-old she's watching has been learning piano from an app.
She can already play some chords. She's using both left and right hand. I'm thoroughly impressed and had TikTok and We Are the Champions stuck in my head all night last night.
Breen and some other classmates helped organize an online portal to match med student volunteers with healthcare workers who need help with childcare, grocery runs, or other errands. She says being a doctor is stressful under normal circumstances. Now it's even worse.
Really, from any level of the healthcare system, from your urgent care visit to your last line ICU, everyone is all hands on deck right now, and the kids are at home, so there's obviously that need where there hasn't really been before.
Other students are calling patients to prepare them for telehealth visits or helping write patient discharge orders. Breen says med students can also use what they've learned to help folks understand what's happening.
Even at my stage of training, I'm able to provide more of an informative role to friends and family. And I've really tried to adopt that role and embrace it and pass out, the message of why it's important, why we're doing what we're doing, why social isolation and all of these things that we're doing can actually make a difference.
Of course, med students are facing their own challenges too. Take Millie Desai.
So I'm 5 months pregnant and was pregnant at the beginning of this year and did not really ever expect that I would be later pregnant during a pandemic.
Desai's husband is a resident neurosurgeon. Given his higher risk of exposure to the coronavirus and the threat of the disease complicating their pregnancy, they decided she should move in with her parents in LA. She says that separation is tough, and it's a terrifying time to be entering a career in medicine.
Really reaffirms our decision to go into healthcare to serve patients that really are the most vulnerable. The scary thing, I think, is just how unprepared our whole system is for things that can happen like this. It is very scary that we're often not supported by infrastructure and by larger policies.
Where doctors are finding some support, though, is among their future colleagues. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
San Diego arts programs have been struggling under the stay-at-home order as well, and that includes arts education programs for kids. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us how one of those programs is trying to adapt to keep the arts alive for young people.
This was the scene just a few months ago in a San Diego classroom. A volunteer from Arts for Learning San Diego leading young children through an exercise combining music and dance.
We want to continue to serve these kids. We really believe in the power of arts, especially at this time of uncertainty and of not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring.
A time of uncertainty for all of us. But at Arts for Learning San Diego, one thing is depressingly certain. When the schools closed down, the organization immediately lost its ability to bring the arts to the children. Adrian Valencia says the organization is now working to figure out how to get as much as possible of what they provide online.
We are just thinking of ways that we can deliver our programs through technology. Schools are going to be going online and into virtual education, and we want to keep being woven into that fabric. It's a huge pivot for us, but if we don't do it, who will?
Valencia says Arts for Learning is now coordinating with the various school districts they serve to get things up and running. But the group's programs extend beyond schools. They also serve children in military housing. They do programs at libraries and in juvenile detention facilities. Those kids, Valencia says, are among the ones who need the arts the most.
When you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, you need something to bring you back and ground you. And that's what we get from the arts.
Adrian Valencia says standing outside a quiet school that should be noisy and filled with children kind of feels like a nightmare. But it's a nightmare that she and her colleagues at Arts for Learning San Diego are determined to dispel, to keep the creativity and the innovation flowing, skills that children will surely need once the nightmare is over. In City Heights, John Carroll, KPBS News.
All DMVs throughout California are closed to the public indefinitely over coronavirus concerns. In-person appointments are canceled until the offices reopen. Customers can still use online services or DMV kiosks at grocery stores. Stocks closed lower on Wall Street today, but held on to weekly gains. The Dow Industrial Average ended down 915 points. Still, the sell-off only put a slight damper on the Dow's best week since 1938. Yesterday, the Labor Department announced more than 3 million people filed for unemployment. SDSU's Miro Kopik weighed in on those numbers for the Friday Business Report.
3.3 million jobless claims this week, a jump from 281,000 last week, 5 times the record set in 1982. So the unemployment numbers next month will see a big jump from our 3.5%, which has been at historic lows, to a 5, 6, 7%. In California, what we've seen is jobless claims leading the nation. Over 1 million jobless claims have been filed since March 13th. And in San Diego, it's not quite as bad as kind of the pace in the state. San Diego, 57 employers reported layoffs of 5,200 workers, and there's going to be more here in the county. So right now, we're going to keep track of all of this and ensure that we have accurate data every week.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, at the forefront, how the U.S. is coping with the most COVID-19 cases in the world. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
An update now on our top story. We're awaiting the latest update on the number of coronavirus cases in our county, but have been told 3 more residents have died. And help is on the way to millions of struggling families and businesses across the country. Today, President Trump signed a $2.2 trillion rescue package. As always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. I'm Maya Trabulsi. From all of us here at KPBS, stay safe and good night.